The Drake Golem starter ship launched earlier this year is a very compelling choice for entry-level mining, with much of the performance of the other single-seaters at a much lower price. And the Golem Ox takes that theme, and that hull for that matter, and tries to do something similar for cargo. But how does it fly in-game? I'm Forrester, and this video will review the currently flyable Drake Golem Ox, which is described on the Star Citizen website as a light freight ship. If you've seen other ship reviews on this channel, then you may recognise the format for this video. It's split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs and profitability before finally summarising. As always, I've included timestamps in the video description in case you want to skip ahead, and if you're one of the many people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you might consider it, not least so you can keep up to date when new ship reviews like this drop. And this review of the Golem Ox is based on performance in Star Citizen Alpha 4.4. And we start the tour for the Golem Ox by approaching from the starboard side underneath the large cargo grid. On the starboard side there's a button which exposes some components, and on the port side there are 2 buttons, one exposing a component on the side, and the other exposing a component on the top, beneath the cargo grid. Clearly the cargo grid needs to be unoccupied to be able to access these. Moving further forward, there's another button which exposes a larger engineering panel, including components and a relay station. On the port side near the front, there's access to a fuel port, not currently operative in-game, as well as up high by the canopy, a weapons rack. Moving around to the front starboard side, we see another weapons rack, this time for smaller arms or utility items, and a button which gives access to the onboard ship inventory. Entry into the Golem Ox is via a hatch at the front. Pressing this brings the seat down and takes you up into the frontmost canopy of the Ox. The Ox is armed with 2 size 1 weapons, defaulting to Bulldog laser repeaters. There are 2 tiny size 1 missile launchers too, just to add a little punch at range. Defensively, the Ox carries a single size 1 shield generator. As you might imagine, put all of that together and you don't have much combat-wise. The Ox can kind of defend itself against smaller NPC targets, but doesn't fare well against any kind of worthy opponent. But this is a starter cargo ship, so perhaps that's appropriate. Visibility in the Ox is somewhat limited, mostly focused on looking to the front. There's limited visibility to the sides and next to no sightlines above or below. Perhaps that's to prepare the pilot for the many haulers that offer even worse visibility? Thankfully, handling-wise the Ox fares a little better. With an SCM limit at 200 meters per second, the Ox does drift a little, especially when fully laden, but that's normal for all cargo ships, and the Ox is still fairly responsive. That's helped by the inclusion of rotating VTOL thrusters, which can give an additional kick of thrust downwards when required. The nav limit increases to 1000 meters per second, which isn't going to set any speed records, but is quick enough to close down longer distances. Where the Ox does very well is in quantum range. Whilst the stock drive isn't the quickest, the fuel stores are sufficient to cover some very long distances, including to Nyx and Pyro. That's an important consideration for a would-be hauler, and so the Ox does well in this regard. Long story short, running the Ox is very cheap. Repair and refuel are usually in the hundreds to low thousands, with restocking missiles potentially adding up to about 5k on top of that. The main moneymaker is likely to be the 64 SCU of cargo grid at the back, which is able to hold any combination therein, including 32 SU crates. In theory anyway, more on that later. But that means that the Ox can handle smaller hauling contracts, or alternatively some of the more profitable trade routes. There is a weapons rack, but it's probably not the natural choice for a bunker runner, and likewise the ship weapons probably preclude choosing high-end combat contracts, but hauling and trading work just fine. In terms of upgrades, depending on how you intend to use the Ox, perhaps changing the quantum drive to something faster like a Colossus could be a consideration. How you plan to use it is important, as the Colossus would be faster but reduce the range, so would probably be more for shorter range haulers or those using the Ox with a mothership. And that's one of the neat features of the Ox. It can fit in many ships just like the base Golem. That makes a lot of sense for those running industrial operations who would want to be able to offload cargo as they go, and the relatively easy loading of smaller crates to the Ox makes it well suited for that. There's an onboard tractor beam at the back that can help in just such circumstances. And being able to take the largest of crates is a unique property compared to other haulers at this tier. But there are a number of issues with the Ox too. Loading 32 SU crates, especially trying to load 2 of them, can be a pain. That's true of using an ATLS or the onboard tractor beam. In fact, the onboard tractor beam often just flails the crates around and makes things worse because the minimum distance is too high to effectively manage 32s. Also, the Ox is often given a small hangar, and the small hangar freight elevators often can't handle the 32s either, so you're left trying to get a bigger hangar or use an external freight elevator if one is available. That onboard tractor beam often gets stuck in position, so if you forget to retract it before flying off, then you have to retract it and deploy it again in order to get it to work. And whilst the 64 SU of storage is somewhat unique in being able to take the largest of crates, it still limits the Ox to small haul contracts, as it's not enough to complete mediums in a single haul. So the advantages to other haulers quickly fall away. At a launch price of $80 to $90, it's also quite a lot more expensive than the base Golem, and so the value proposition starts to fall away too. It's the same pledge price as a Hull A, which, whilst being unable to carry the largest of crates, offers the same SU capacity and crew accommodation. As a newly released ship, there is no in-game price at time of recording for the Ox, but the Hull A is available for 1.6 million credits, which is fairly accessible. Long story short, the Golem Ox does bring something unique in having a small form factor and being able to carry the largest of crates, but sacrifices a lot in order to do so, and really isn't the most friendly to load or unload. For my money, unless those are critical elements, I'd stick with the Hull A, probably bought for in-game credits. But perhaps you disagree and are a die-hard Golem Ox fan. I look forward to reading your thoughts in the video comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to help me understand what videos to make more of in future. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube knows to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.